There is another module called Indent Space, and what it does is it allows you to indent your field labels using action tags. It says that you should be able to specify the spacing for each space value, but I don't see a place to do that. So once again, if we go to the modules here, we're going to click enable a module, and it's called indent skip patterns. So it's this indent skip patterns. Oops, skip patterns. And it won't show up because I have it enabled. But what's weird is let me correct it. In the documentation, it's called indent skip patterns. In the actual module, it's called indent space. So if I close this and I click on the documentation here, it's going to show indent skip patterns. But what it does is it has a space, and this is the other thing, it uses space left, not skip left. So these are the values. And essentially what it is each space that you're indenting by is defaulted at 30 pixels. And so if you say, I want to, it's kind of like Bootstrap, where you say, if you want a container that's like small, medium, medium 1, medium 2, that kind of thing. So here it's space left equals 1 would be 30, space left 3 would be 90. So what you would do is in your designer, you would add the action tag for the value that you want to indent. So right here, I have space left equals 1. The next indentation would be space left equals 2. And that's going to give you this indentation in your question. So if you have something, this is good for like logic, where if this question equals yes, this pops up. If this equals yes or no, this pops up. So you can see that these are nested questions. Now, the thing is, I wanted to show this because it could be helpful for some people, but now that we have the rich text editor, it's easier to just do it in a different way without even having to worry about modules. Because you can see here at the top, these three are, well, this one not here, but these two are using the action tags. But you can't tell in your designer how far these are indented in. You'd have to go to your record and actually look at it in the form. Here, I have the exact same thing, but I'm just using the rich text editor, and I'm using this indent, so I'm just increasing it by 1 or increasing it by 2. It's the same thing. It's in the HTML, so it's adding the padding here. But in my design view, I can see the padding, and it'll show up here, so they look identical. If I refresh here, you can see these question 1, question 2, they look identical. You wouldn't be able to tell. The other interesting thing is, and I'm not sure if this is the bug in the module, is that when you add these action tags, it's outputting these values at the bottom of your instrument. So if you have a long form with a bunch of space left values, action tags that you're using, they're going to appear at the bottom of your form, and there's no way to hide them. Because if I, unlike this, where if I highlight something and I click inspect, and I can go to the actual label and hide it. So if I added a CSS and just said display none, we go back, that label is gone. It's hidden now. But if I refresh and if I right click on inspect down here, that pulls in these values here that you wouldn't be able to target in your RedCap. Carol, no, I haven't tried it with the non-admin RedCap account. That might be something good to try. So all of this is not accessible through. I mean, you could, this subheader. Let me move this over here so you can see what's being selected. So when I click on inspect here, this is where it takes me. So if I hover over that, it's the entire thing. So there's no way to really drill down to find those little values because they're being pulled in by JavaScript. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I just wanted to demo this because it could be helpful for some people, but I feel, in my opinion, it's easier to use the rich text editor and use the decrease indent values here. And once you do that, if you do want something like, let's say you don't want 80, let's say you want 25, you could go in, once this is already created, you could update that. So it doesn't have to be these values. So does anybody have any questions about that?
My only comment is that I totally agree that one way limits your flexibility and the other way gives you pretty much infinite flexibility once you do the first indent, and then you decide how much you want to indent and whether you want anything else involved with it. So I like the rich text editor version.
Yeah. And it might be better once they update this because you're supposed to be able to set, like it says, you're supposed to be able to set a base indent space. So like if you wanted things by 25 pixels, then this would be 25, 75, 100, that kind of thing. That might be nice because then you can set a value once and then use these action tags to indent inward. So maybe this is something that whenever they do the next update for this, it'll get better. But I just want to let people know it exists.
Thank you. I
Mhm.
appreciate it. I also don't like that at the bottom.
Yeah, this is weird. I
Yeah,
will check if it's non-admin account. Like this could be something that's just showing up for admins as sort of a debugging thing.
if you
Uh,
change the user, does it? Oh, you probably don't have another user added. It's
no,
non-admin. That's fine.
yeah, I'll try it offline and
Yeah.
see.
All
But
right.
you would think that if that was the case, it would say something in the documentation saying that this would appear for admin users or something for debugging.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're out of time. So thank you all for joining us today. We'll be back next week, 1 o'clock. Bring your questions or your problems or your roadblocks, and we'll see if we can help you. So have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week.